Female psychology. Why she goes silent when she still loves you. It happens overnight. Yesterday her eyes were locked onto yours, filled with a warmth that made you feel like the absolute center of her entire universe. She laughed at your jokes, leaned into your touch, and eagerly shared the deepest, most vulnerable parts of her day with you. Today, nothing. The messages slow down, the calls go to voicemail, the vibrant, breathing connection you once shared has suddenly been replaced by a wall of heavy, suffocating ice. You check your phone, you check it again. Silence. It is a very specific kind of quiet. It is a deafening, confusing void that makes your chest tighten and causes your pulse to race with an unexplainable anxiety. Most men panic in this exact moment. Their minds immediately begin spinning completely out of control, desperately searching their recent memory banks for the fatal mistake they must have made. You wonder if you said something offensive, if you pushed her too hard, or if another man has suddenly captured her attention while you were not looking. You want to fix it. You want to react. Stop. Breathe deeply. Listen to me very carefully. Her silence does not always mean her love has simply evaporated into thin air. Human emotion is rarely that simple. Female psychology is a deeply nuanced landscape built on intuition, self-protection, and subconscious testing. In many cases, when a woman who genuinely cares about you suddenly goes cold, it is not because she feels too little. It is often because she feels entirely too much, and the immense internal pressure has forced her to retreat into a quiet fortress of her own making. She is overwhelmed. She is retreating, but she is still watching. This moment is the ultimate test of your masculine core. How you choose to respond to the sudden, unexpected withdrawal of her affection will dictate the entire future trajectory of your dynamic. If you chase her, you lose. If you panic and flood her phone with messages, you instantly validate her deepest, most hidden fears about your emotional instability. You must remain solid. You must become the mountain. In this video, we are going to completely dissect the intricate anatomy of her silence. We will strip away the confusion and look directly at the raw behavioral psychology behind why she pulls away when her heart is still attached to yours. I will show you exactly how to navigate this quiet storm without ever sacrificing a single ounce of your dignity. By the end, you will not just understand her, you will master yourself. The silence is heavy. It crushes your chest. You sit alone in the quiet of your room, staring blankly at a screen that absolutely refuses to light up with her name, feeling a terrifying sense of dread slowly consume your mind. You feel entirely powerless. You want control back. Your immediate biological instinct is to reach out and forcefully pull her back into your orbit before she drifts too far into the unknown. You convince yourself that just one more message, just one more phone call will miraculously break the ice and restore the warmth you so desperately crave. You double text. You seek reassurance. Your thumbs frantically type out a long emotional paragraph demanding a rational explanation or apologizing for abstract mistakes you are not even entirely sure you actually made. You hit send. You wait anxiously. Nothing comes back. The void remains empty. It feels like rejection. When a woman who loves you suddenly goes quiet, it creates a powerful illusion of complete and utter apathy that tricks your brain into believing she has fundamentally stopped caring. You look at her silence and interpret it as a direct, calculated attack on your core value as a man. This is a lie. Your mind betrays you. In reality, the frantic energy you are projecting into the digital ether is doing nothing but confirming her unspoken need for distance and space. You are essentially pouring gasoline onto a fire that desperately needs to burn itself out naturally. By chasing her retreating energy, you are subtly communicating that your entire emotional stability is entirely dependent on her constant validation. She senses your fear. She feels your panic. Instead of perceiving you as a grounded, unwavering pillar of masculine strength, she sees a man who is terrified of standing alone in the dark. You lose your frame. You surrender your power. When you allow her temporary emotional state to completely dictate your internal sense of peace, you inadvertently hand over the keys to your own psychological kingdom. You must stop moving. You must stand still. It is completely natural to feel the sting of her absence because human beings are biologically wired to fear abandonment from the people they have deeply emotionally attached themselves to. But acknowledging the pain does not mean you are required to act on the panic it generates. Let her be present. Let the space exist. The most powerful thing a man can do when faced with the sudden withdrawal of a woman's attention is to gracefully step back and mirror the exact level of investment she is currently offering. You do not punish her with anger, and you do not bombard her with desperate pleas for attention. You drop the rope. You breathe out slowly. You recognize that her silence is a boundary she has drawn, and as a man of profound self-respect, you will honor that boundary by returning to the quiet sanctuary of your own purpose. She is not cold, she is overwhelmed. Men and women process complex emotional data in fundamentally different ways that often lead to profound misunderstandings when the pressure begins to rise in a romantic dynamic. A man typically experiences a sudden problem, logically isolates the specific variables causing the distress, and immediately seeks a highly actionable solution to quickly fix the broken machinery. He fixes things, he moves forward. A woman feels everything simultaneously. When the emotional tide comes rushing in, it does not arrive in neatly organized logical boxes that can be easily sorted and cleanly stored away on a mental shelf. It is a flood. It is a heavy storm. When she falls silent despite genuinely loving you, it is frequently because her internal circuitry has been completely overloaded by a massive combination of external stressors, relationship anxieties, or deeply rooted personal insecurities. The silence is not a cruel weapon carefully forged to inflict unnecessary pain upon you, but rather a highly necessary shield constructed to protect her own fragile sanity from completely shattering under the immense weight of her own feelings. She retreats inward. She seeks the quiet. If she tries to speak while the emotional storm is raging violently inside her chest, she instinctively knows she might say things that will permanently damage the delicate foundation of the relationship you have built together. She purposefully removes herself to privately process the chaos, without causing irreversible collateral damage to the man she deeply cares about. She protects the bond. She shuts the door. However, the psychology deepens much further. Sometimes the sudden pregnance stems from a lingering, painful sensation that she is simply not being heard on a fundamental spiritual level, even when you are standing right in front of her. You offer fast solutions. She wants deep presence. If she has repeatedly tried to express a subtle emotional need or a quiet vulnerability in the past and felt instantly brushed aside by your cold, detached logic, her subconscious mind slowly learns that speaking is ultimately a frustrating and deeply futile endeavor. Words become completely useless. Silence becomes profoundly safe. She withdraws her radiant energy because continuously pouring water into a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom is an exhausting and deeply demoralizing experience for a woman who just wants to feel completely understood. She deeply loves you, but the exhausting daily act of trying to translate her complex, vibrant internal world into a dry language you can easily digest has completely drained her spiritual reserves. She stops giving. She watches you quietly. Finally, we must critically address the most primal, deeply ingrained psychological mechanism hidden silently beneath her sudden retreat into the shadows. It is a subconscious evolutionary test of your masculine frame and your true emotional fortitude in the face of sudden, unexpected adversity. She tests the structure. She shakes the pillars. When a woman entirely removes her warm, nurturing energy from your immediate environment, she is instinctively watching to see if your entire world collapses without her constant presence to hold it all together. Will you completely lose your emotional center, desperately chase her down and pathetically beg for the tiny crumbs of her attention? Or will you stand firmly rooted in your own grand purpose, entirely unbothered by the shifting, unpredictable winds of her emotional state? Are you solid? Are you easily broken? If her sudden silence instantly transforms you into a needy, panicked boy who cannot function independently, you are actively proving to her primitive brain that you are not a safe, reliable leader for the future. She desperately needs a partner who is an immovable mountain, fiercely capable of weathering her darkest emotional storms without crumbling into a pile of dust at the very first sign of trouble. You must be the rock. You must not move. Instead of being a fragile leaf blown relentlessly around by her emotional wind, you must become the deeply rooted ancient tree that remains perfectly unshaken no matter how hard the tempest blows. Her silence is a mirror. It reflects your core. By fully understanding the intricate hidden anatomy of her withdrawal, you effortlessly strip away the terrifying illusion of absolute rejection and immediately replace it with a calm analytical clarity. You finally realize that her quietness is fundamentally about her own internal processing, her desperate need for emotional safety, and her raw, primal desire to know that the man standing confidently beside her cannot be easily broken by a temporary lack of feminine validation. She needs the space. You must give it. The Stoic knows this. The world is chaotic. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control the turning of the earth, and you absolutely cannot control the unpredictable emotional tides of the woman you love. The only territory you have absolute sovereignty over is the quiet, fortified citadel of your own mind. She goes completely silent. You remain perfectly still. When a man lacks a strong internal frame, his entire sense of self-worth is dangerously tethered to external validation, swinging wildly like a pendulum depending on how much attention his partner is currently willing to provide. If she smiles and showers him with affection, he feels like a king conquering the world. If she pulls away, he becomes a beggar. This emotional dependency is a profound weakness that fundamentally repels feminine energy, because a woman cannot comfortably rest her heart in the hands of a man who is easily shattered by her absence. The Stoic philosophy teaches us a radical transformative approach to sudden adversity. We must ruthlessly separate the objective event from our subjective, panicked interpretation of it. The event is simple. She is not speaking. Your interpretation is complex, agonizing, and entirely fabricated by a mind that is deeply terrified of being abandoned. You tell yourself stories about your inadequacy, you imagine catastrophic scenarios where she is laughing with another man, and you let a simple lack of communication mutate into a sprawling apocalyptic tragedy. Stop the mental spiral. Cut the narrative cord. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, famously wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find profound strength. When you apply this ancient wisdom to the agonizing silence of a woman who still loves you, the entire dynamic instantly shifts from a desperate chase to a magnificent display of quiet, unwavering masculine power. You observe the silence. You do not judge it. Instead of frantically burning your energy trying to decipher the hidden meaning behind her sudden retreat, you must immediately redirect that powerful focus back onto your own life, your own goals, and your own unwavering purpose. Her silence is merely an external condition, much like a sudden rainstorm falling on a Tuesday afternoon. You do not yell at the rain. You grab an umbrella. You continue walking forward. When she pulls her energy away, the most destructive thing you can possibly do is abandon your own path to go wandering aimlessly into the dark woods, desperately searching for her. This behavior communicates a devastating lack of self-respect and instantly proves that your mission in life is secondary to her constant approval. Your purpose is primary. Her presence is complementary. By choosing to remain deeply rooted in your own reality, you create a powerful silent contrast to her emotional turbulence. You become a steady lighthouse in the middle of a raging sea, offering a silent promise of safety and stability simply by refusing to be moved by the chaotic waves crashing endlessly against your foundation. She expects you to panic. She anticipates the chase. When you do not react, when you simply continue building your empire, lifting heavy weights, reading great books, and pursuing excellence with a quiet, terrifying focus, you violently disrupt her subconscious expectations. You break the pattern. You command silent respect. This is not a manipulative game designed to punish her for needing space, nor is it a cold, heartless strategy to make her feel abandoned in return. It is simply the natural, dignified response of a high-value man who refuses to let his emotional state be dictated by circumstances outside of his direct control. You love her deeply. You respect yourself more. By embracing the Stoic frame, you transform her agonizing silence from a painful, confusing rejection into a beautiful, uninterrupted opportunity for profound self-mastery. You learn to sit comfortably in the quiet void, completely unbothered by the temporary absence of her warmth, knowing with absolute certainty that your value as a man is eternally self-generated. You understand the game. You know the mind. We have extensively explored the chaotic, overwhelming landscape of female psychology and armed ourselves with the impenetrable ancient wisdom of the Stoic mindset. Now we must translate this profound internal transformation into concrete disciplined action that directly addresses her prolonged silence without ever compromising your masculine frame. This is the execution phase. It requires brutal discipline. The very first and most agonizing step into navigating her sudden withdrawal is completely counterintuitive to everything your anxious, panicked biology is screaming at you to do right now. When a woman you deeply love suddenly goes completely dark, your overwhelming impulse is to fill the terrifying void with words, texts, apologies, and frantic demands for immediate clarity. Do not send it. Put the phone down. Step 1 is the absolute mastery of the mirroring principle. a highly sophisticated behavioral strategy that requires you to precisely reflect the exact level of time, energy, and emotional investment she is currently bringing to the relationship. If she takes 12 hours to respond to a simple mundane text message with a single cold word you do not immediately reply in 30 seconds, with a massive emotionally charged paragraph, she gives you nothing. You mirror the void. This is not a petty vindictive game of tit-for-tat designed to punish her for needing space, but rather a fundamental unapologetic assertion of your own high-value boundaries. By aggressively mirroring her silence, you are subconsciously communicating that your attention is an incredibly valuable resource that must be continuously earned, not an infinite commodity freely given to someone who is actively choosing to ignore you. You pull the energy back. You close the bets. Step 2 involves the agonizing process of strategic detachment, where you consciously and deliberately sever the anxious emotional cords that are desperately trying to drag you into her chaotic internal storm. You must mentally accept the terrifying possibility that this silence might be permanent, completely internalizing the profound realization that you will absolutely survive and thrive even if she never speaks to you again. Assume it is over. Grieve the immediate loss. This dark, morbid visualization is an incredibly powerful psychological tool because it instantly destroys the desperate clinging hope that is currently fueling your anxiety. When you genuinely accept the worst-case scenario and make complete peace with her permanent absence, a massive suffocating weight is instantly lifted off your shoulders, completely eliminating the needy, desperate energy that she can practically smell radiating off you from miles away. You're suddenly free. You become dangerous again. Step 3 is the aggressive, unrelenting reallocation of the massive amount of mental and physical energy you've been completely wasting on agonizing over her silence. You've been burning countless hours staring at a blank screen, analyzing her social media activity, and driving yourself completely insane trying to decipher the hidden meaning behind her sudden retreat. Stop the pathetic waste. Reclaim your stolen time. Take all of that intense, burning, chaotic energy and aggressively channel it directly into your grand purpose, your physical health, your financial goals, and the relentless pursuit of your own magnificent excellence. Go to the gym and lift heavier weights, completely immerse yourself in a complex, demanding project at work, reconnect with ambitious men who challenge you, and build a vibrant, exciting life that does not require her constant validation to exist. Build the empire higher. Let her watch silently. When a woman pulls away and expects you to completely fall apart, the most devastatingly attractive thing you can possibly do is become immediately undeniably better in her absence. She will eventually notice that your entire world did not spectacularly collapse without her, and she will simultaneously realize that the high-value man she left behind is currently thriving, expanding and becoming increasingly unavailable while she sits in silence. You create the vacuum. She feels the pull. Step 4 is the final, most delicate phase, the graceful re-entry dose, which only occurs if and when she finally decides to break the silence and cautiously reach back out to you. When she inevitably sends that subtle probing text message to test the waters and see if you are still desperately waiting for her, you must respond with absolute emotional control and unwavering masculine dignity. Do not be angry. Do not be overjoyed. You respond warmly, briefly, and cleanly, completely ignoring the massive elephant in the room, regarding her prolonged absence until she is ready to address it herself. You do not demand an immediate tearful apology, nor do you instantly reward her return by immediately handing over all of your time, energy, and emotional resources as if nothing ever happened. You are glad she is back, but you were fine without her. By executing this blueprint with brutal consistency, you completely flip the entire power dynamic of the relationship, transforming her terrifying silence from a weapon of emotional destruction into a powerful catalyst for your own profound self-mastery. You force her to realize that she cannot simply walk in and out of your life without consequence, deeply cementing your status as a grounded, immovable force of nature that she will think twice about ever leaving again. Hold the line permanently, never surrender your frame. The storm will pass, the silence will break. Whether she returns to your side with a renewed sense of deep devotion or continues walking down a completely separate path, the ultimate outcome no longer dictates your fundamental sense of internal peace. You have successfully navigated the darkest, most confusing depths of female psychology and emerged on the other side as a profoundly grounded, emotionally impenetrable man of undeniable value. You kept your frame, You held the line. If she truly loves you and simply needed the quiet space to process her overwhelming internal world, the immense unbothered distance you gracefully created will naturally pull her back into your solid masculine orbit. If her silence was actually a permanent exit quietly disguised as a temporary break, you have already moved forward without sacrificing a single ounce of your precious dignity. You are entirely whole. You need nothing else. The greatest victory a man can ever achieve is not violently forcing a woman to speak, but actively learning to sit beautifully undisturbed within the quiet void she temporarily leaves behind. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced the deafening silence of a woman you truly loved? And how did you finally find the quiet strength to stand perfectly still in the dark? Share your story below. We are listening closely.